So, if you had the opportunity to like go back to talk to your like old high school self, what's like one piece of advice you'd like to give them?
I guess what I tell you guys, just to relax just a little bit. Like, work hard and study and do the work, but don't put so much pressure on how you actually perform.
Hey guys, welcome back to episode 9 of the DMT Show. If you didn't know already, I'm Ashok.
My name is Jason.
I'm Aryan.
I'm Andy, and once again, for this episode, we have another special guest. We have Mr. Depalo, if you'd like to introduce yourself a little bit.
My name is Mr. Depalo. I teach math at Syosset High School. I have all 4 of them in 2 different classes in college pre-cal, and I've been teaching for 20 years.
Hey, there we go. All right, wait. So, first question, right off the bat. So, why a teacher? You said in class that you've kind of regretted it. So, is there a reason why you've stuck with it?
Well, it's a good question. In college, I needed a job, so they set you up a work-study program. I was tutoring kids after school, and I liked it, so I was like, all right, I'll go be a teacher. I guess a negative about it is it's not a job where you move around. That's it. Once you're a teacher for like 30, 35 years, and then you retire. Most people don't leave and then try something else and then come back. Or if you're like an accountant, you might have like 4 or 5 different jobs, or sisters of people, sales reps.
If you're a teacher, do you like move schools ever so often?
Yeah,
or do you usually just stay in one school usually?
So Syosset's my second district. So I taught in Waltman High School, where I live now, for 1 year, and then I moved to Syosset.
Okay.
Most people maybe would go to one other school, like I did, but no, you don't like go because once you leave the school, you lose tenure.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
You have to get tenure at a new school.
Okay, so I'm kind of assuming. So when you first started teaching, did you I guess you liked working with like kids and stuff like that, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt more comfortable with kids than adults. So, like,
That's
even
fair.
there are times where I'll, like, go to someone's house and I'll end up playing, like, soccer or wiffle ball with kids instead of sitting there talking.
All right, a follow-up question to that. What happened now? It seems like you don't like any of us.
Yeah.
You guys are annoying, that's why.
What makes
Well,
it
that's
annoying?
like shit. Like, that's how I make fun of you guys to try to keep things somewhat entertaining in class.
It is
I feel like
entertaining.
You do a
mad
great
the whole
job.
time.
It is yeah.
One thing
There's
that
a
I
reason
have,
you're our first guest.
you are our
There's
first.
a reason you're our first guest.
Yeah.
Teacher, like adult, I guess.
Also, you do have a very like unique style of teaching compared to like every other teacher that we've ever had in like high school. Because like I don't know, you actually like make fun of us, and like every other teacher is kind of like, I don't know, they just.
I guess they're scared
Different.
too.
It's just like not the
It's like,
way that most people do it, I guess. So like.
Yeah.
yeah, it
That's how you
feels
know
like,
that your age gets a bad rap for being very sensitive, so people are afraid to like make fun of you guys and stuff. Whereas I found that you guys are not that sensitive and you guys can take a joke pretty well.
Yeah.
yeah, we can.
Even like
It feels
today,
like,
even today in like one of my English classes, one teacher said, like, just commented on my hair, like, "Oh, you grew it out a little." I'm like, "Does that mean you're saying I should cut it?" As like a little joke. And she's like, no, I would never insult a student like that. And I'm just like, I was thinking,
it's so far.
yeah, like I can take stuff like that.
Yeah,
Unless you
it makes
comment
it
about
seem
like
like
my race or something.
it makes it seem like you're more like a friend, because like that's what friends do, right? Friends like make fun of each other, whatever. It makes it seem like more like a friend than just like an authority. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? So like that's a good thing, I think, about it.
I feel like I'm sure you, like you said, you guys make fun of each other all the time. That's kind of the way people interact.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's changed.
Mhm. All right, wait. So hold on. So going back to some of the things that you said before. So one maybe negative thing about being teachers is that you kind of stay in one spot. But what are some of the good things that you do like about teaching, if any?
I mean, I really do like I like working with kids. I mean, you know, a lot of the teachers will complain a lot about our jobs, but it's a pretty good district. For the most part, you guys are good kids. Most of the kids that I teach. I happen to have 3 college pre-cal classes, so like you got those students are really good students. I mean, building relationships with different kids is nice, is good. It's also nice, like working in Syosset. I'm working with a culture of kids that I didn't grow up with. I went to Catholic school my whole life, and it was basically white Catholic Christian kids. That was all I was exposed to. For my first time I ever stepped in public school was when I started working, and I'm meeting Jewish kids, so different religions, and then Middle Eastern, Egyptian, Asian, all these different kinds of kids that I feel like once you get a job, you're with the same group of people, and it doesn't change that much. But here in the school, there's a lot more diversity and a chance to interact with different kinds of people.
All right.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I got another question. So you said that you worked for 1 year at Walt Whitman, and Syosset is seen as by a lot of parents as one of the best schools in Long Island. What would you say is a negative of Syosset? Because you've worked in other schools before and
Well, let me ask you this, Arian. How many classes do you take?
At the start of the year, I had a full schedule. So
right, like that, the pressure that's put on you guys, and things that drive me crazy is we hear the announcements and it says, especially Jason, second period, because you're in the same room as I am at the period.
Yep.
Don't let the kids eat in the classroom. They cannot eat in the classroom, and yet they don't give you a lunch period to eat it. I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. There's no logic. So the kids just don't eat from 7:30 to 2:30. So that's something that exists in Syosset that I don't think exists everywhere.
that makes sense. All right.
And do you think there's definitely a point where that pressure becomes too high? At what point would it is there a point where it becomes unbearable? Because I feel like for some students, they put it on themselves, but I feel like also with the pressure that comes with Syosset, I feel like that just doesn't help it at all.
Well, don't you think though some people put it on themselves? Some of the kids who put it on themselves would not put it on themselves if they were in a different environment.
That's actually very true.
Yeah, that's fair. I see when I'm making my own schedule, I ask other people around the school in my grade what they're taking, and it's AP honors, everything, and I'm maybe I should take those because they're taking them. And
Exactly.
even you think of your classmates in the future, they're gonna be future competitors. That's a weird way to think about it, but it's true. So
But I can't imagine that what you take your junior year of high school is going to affect you that much at 35 years old.
Yeah, that's something that you've emphasized a lot in class.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is this math test doesn't define your life, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I think how you approach it, and I'm going to study and I'm going to do the best I can, and whatever happens, happens. But as long as you're going to approach it in the right way and with hard work and integrity, and you do the best you can, that's really the lesson you're trying to learn in school. Most of the math I teach you're not going to use.
That's the first teacher I've heard admit it.
Yeah. All right. So, you've seen us in high school. I have a question. What were you in high school? So there's obviously two types. There's jocks. You got nerds. I don't know if it was the same back then, but what type of kid were you?
Well, I guess I was a bit of an enigma because I was on the football team at St. Anthony's and we were really good. But I was in all honors and AP classes, so I was pretty nerdy. So I had jock friends and I had, nerd friends. I had a group of friends who all went to Cornell and became doctors, and then I had a group of kids who played lacrosse in college and stuff. So I guess I was somewhere in between those two groups. But going to St. Anthony's, while you still had those groups, everyone was going to college. Everyone cared about school. No one was slacking. Maybe they didn't spend as much time studying as some of the, nerdier kids, but, everyone was going to college. Everyone studied. Everyone did their homework. It was just expected. It's what everyone did. Yeah. Not unlike Syosset. For the most part, that's what everyone does.
Yeah, everyone tries to get good grades because, I don't know.
Yeah.
The amount of money that our parents pay for us to get in here, it seems for most kids a waste just to not.
Not try.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. What percentage do you think of of the kids in the school and then of your friends have parents that are professionals, as opposed to like blue collar, manual labor.
Like 99%.
Right.
Yeah.
So just they went to college. It's expected you guys are going to college.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Most of
I
the
didn't go to
parents,
college, but
yeah, my parents didn't. My mom did, but my dad didn't. But the reason that they put it, my parents specifically, the reason that they got me here, like they spend like all of their lives trying to get me into SaaS. It's just so I can have like a good life myself. So.
You said got me here from where? Like where?
My parents. Well, they grew up in India, so like my dad came from like poverty. So like, he always tells me like the story about like how his school they learned under a tree and like how like there was no walls and like something funny that he said that his like college major was like about like computers and he never saw a computer in his life. And he still got like a bachelor degree about working with computers.
So think about that. What was he doing his junior year of high school if he had never seen a computer but still managed to get a degree in computers?
I don't know. It's crazy, but like definitely not even close to what we have to do.
I know, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
My parents, like even though my parents were both born in India and they married in India, and then they came here, and then I was born here as a citizen. But in India, they both became doctors, but they got their degrees in India. So when they came here, they were forced to like relearn a bunch of stuff and take like 2 extra years or like whatever of school again, because all the practices here are different. So they had to take like a bunch of extra time.
Did they?
Yeah, you don't have to, but like a majority of it, you do have to go through, just in case they test if you forgot. Yeah, and then I guess.
Forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I guess
interesting.
now they just like they got me here after like a bit of like a while of just working, like 10+ years of just school, and I was just like I used to expect the same thing, or I expect myself to be like them, and that pressures me, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad pressure shift though. Like, do you think that pressure is like too much for you, or do you just want to be like them?
I guess it's more of a want, and then again, like if I'm picking my schedule, I'll be thinking of that in the back of my mind, and it'll influence some of my decisions.
Yeah, but then again, there's also like we're not like it's not like the only case because like I guess for me, Ashok, and I guess for Andy and Jason, all of our parents were like immigrants, and like for some kids, like their parents grew up in South, so they went to the same school. So like for them, it's a little different because like, but I guess it's for some reason.
You find the pressure on them or their work ethic different than you guys whose parents are immigrants?
I would say yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say. I feel like this is just from what I've seen, right? So I feel like children of immigrant parents feel more pressured than like let's say, kids of just people who grew up here. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like immigrants who moved here, they had to put in the work themselves to build up a family, work hard paying jobs, or maybe even low paying jobs depending on where they work. But they had to build up a family, buy a house and then get their kids into school. And they want to see that same amount of effort that they put into growing up their family and developing their family. They want to see that same amount of effort in their kids' like schoolwork. So I feel like that could be a reason why there's more pressure. But then again, that's just what I've seen. I'm not saying it's for everyone.
Yeah, but like also like
that's like I guess a stereotype, but that's kind of like I don't know if I want to say a fact, but people always say like children of immigrants have a better work ethic because, like you said, Andy, their parents had to work so hard to either get from where they were to this country and then to build an entire life having almost nothing when they got here, that they've instilled that in their kids. And that not that your kids are going to be lazier than you, but they're not going to have that same sense of pressure or urgency because of who you guys are, and you didn't have to go through what your parents went through.
Yeah, and like honestly, I don't think like if I ever do have kids, I don't think I want them to work as hard as like that as like we had to. I guess it's like it's very hard to find like that perfect balance. I guess it's like the Goldilocks scenario where it's like right in the like middle of working hard enough, but also like relaxing and enjoying and not being too stressed out. But it's kind of weird to get in that right spot because I don't want to, of course, my kids, if I do have them, to like just not do anything, go to school as a waste of time, like not do anything. But I also don't want them to, because like growing up, I was in school to like get the grades that like I wanted to get. But like I realize now that's not as necessary as I thought it was.
Right.
Yeah, like when you said grades that I want, I guess it's similar to like saying like grades that my parents would want me to get.
Yeah, the grades that I wanted to get were because my parents told me that those are the grades that I should get.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like going back to like that whole being a child of an immigrant thing. It's like they they made a sacrifice or potentially like a risk or whatever coming here, and it's like you want to live up to that expectation, and you want to, and whatever their expectation might be, whether it might be too high for you or too low for you, whatever it might be, you want to live up to no matter what, because though I mean they have expectations for you, you want to reach them because you don't want that risk to like go to waste. So.
Jason and Andy, where are your parents from?
They're from the Dominican Republic. They were both born there, and then when they moved here, they had our oldest brother who's 24, and then they had us 8 years later, and then yeah, that's how it happened. They didn't get a high school diploma or anything like that. They just came here, worked, started like their own little business thing, and it's been successful. And they able to pay our oldest brother college loans without any debt and giving him any debt. So it's pretty
Really?
hard place to come. Yeah.
That's impressive. So let me
They're
ask you
hoping to
guys
do
a
the same
personal
for us,
question.
but
Let me ask you guys a personal question. You know, Ashok and Aryan, they're Indian, which is, I don't know what the percentage is in Syosset, but it's a decent amount of people from India in Syosset. There are not that many kids from the Dominican Republic in Syosset.
yeah, not at all.
What's that experience like?
I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like you have like the whole school. Everyone talks about like diversity in the school, whatever, and you have like huge Jewish and like white population still, a really big Asian population too. And you have like pretty low like Hispanic or like Black or like there's some Middle Eastern people too, but like it's like way fewer. So I don't know. It's kind of like hard to like. There's no like really cultural connection. You can talk to people or like you can relate to people like on a cultural level or like stuff like that. But it's still okay. Like you can, I feel like if you're like a minority type group, like in like a school, like you can just get along with the other minorities still. Like that's why we're friends with these two. I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say decentralized like whole friend group is just like funnily, it's not. I don't even know if it's coincidental or not. But like it's just mainly people from minority groups, and I feel like also with other big groups, like Jason said, East Asian is a pretty big group in our school or like in our community in general, and same with like Jewish and like white American. Those people tend to have groups of friends that are within that same group, and people in minority groups tend to have friends with other people in the other minority groups, if that makes sense. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say. But
You know what I mean? I was listening to a podcast, and I was listening to one with an evolutionary biologist, and they said that it's in our evolution that we are drawn to people who look like us because that's how we survive. Like, you need to have your tribe survive, and so it's not natural always for us to step outside of people who look like us in our comfort zone. And based on evolution, we do a decent job of doing that, but it's not always as easy as people would like it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't think I really have any major Hispanic friends. Like surprisingly, so
Yeah.
like,
So
most
like
of them are Indian.
like a short story that like I have. It's just like recently I went with Andy. Andy like kind of dragged me along. We went to a Hispanic culture group. It was like, but like it was very interesting because there was a bunch of kids that I never actually like knew before at all. Like I probably saw like one kid that I like saw before, and like everyone else was completely new to me. I've never met like any of these people, but it was like a completely like new perspective, and it was honestly like a lot of fun. But it was also like very like fun to meet like new people from like a new like group. It was, I don't know, it was just different. Like, but yeah.
I feel like one of the things we fail as a school district is we do have a decent amount of different cultures and religions, but we're afraid to talk about all these things. So like, we don't. I don't know what the fear is. I guess it goes back to what you guys said. Everyone's afraid of offending people.
Yeah.
But like in the last 5 to 7 years, we have Diwali off and we have Chinese New Year off, and there's no real conversations in the school about what these holidays are and what they're celebrating, and why it's important to give off for these days now. We just say, all right, have a good day off, and we'll see you, when we get back. Like, there's not enough conversation, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
going
also
off of
leads
that.
it also leads to like an interest. Sorry, Shep.
Yeah, that's alright.
It leads to like an interesting topic as like many of the Indians themselves, like if you ask them what Diwali is, I don't think they'd be able to answer, because like there's been a severe like loss of like religious like or like cultural background. A lot of people have like forgotten like complete like. I think I agree for like this like goes for like everyone here. Like we're not very religious, but like I myself, I know what like Diwali is. Like I know what it's supposed to be. But like if you ask like just a random like Indian kid who's in the hallways, there's a good chance that he wouldn't, or like he or she wouldn't. And like it's
Right.
I don't know. It's just something that like it's a problem that's it's going like all around the country. That I don't think is just us. I think like everyone's facing that. There's just been like a lot of
No,
loss.
I agree. I think Christmas is celebrated more culturally than religion.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I guess-
Mr. Depalo, sorry, we couldn't you off, but like you said before, with like more holidays like Diwali and whatever it may be, Chinese New Year, with us getting days off for these holidays, I wonder if it stems from that fear that you're talking about of offending other people, because if some certain group feels that their holiday isn't being recognized, do they feel that in some way they're being like discriminated against, and that's why we have so many days off now as compared to before? Because as our generation keeps growing up, we're the hate like it or not, we are becoming more like sensitive, I guess. So I wonder if it stems from that fear of oh, we're being discriminated against, or we're not being recognized, or what have you.
I know there's conversations about like, so let's say Aryan and Ashok, I don't even know if you celebrated Diwali, but if you did and you took that day off from school, the point is you shouldn't have to come up to me and say, Mr. Depalo, I'm not going to be here because I'm celebrating a holiday. I don't know why that's an issue, but the argument is you're putting them in an uncomfortable situation, or now they'd have to make up schoolwork, do something that's not really their fault. I don't know why that would be an issue. Why they couldn't have this conversation with the teacher. I have no problem with the days off, although I find it interesting that I think what days the school district gives off for certain holidays should kind of be based on the demographic of that school district. If you go to a Freeport or a Brentwood, how many of those kids are celebrating Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? Probably not too many of them.
Yeah.
So do they need those days off? Maybe they'd be better off getting days off for other cultural significant days that I'm unaware of. I don't know, but this cookie cutter policy for all districts in New York State or Long Island doesn't always make sense to me either.
All right, Ashok, you want to go now?
Yeah, I was gonna fine. What I was gonna say before was like, even if you ask like some random people in the school like why they have a day off tomorrow, they'll just like have no idea. They just know they have a day off. They don't even know like anything about the holiday. And I guess for some holidays right before in some classes you like go over like, even today we went like, oh yeah, what is Thanksgiving? What do you actually do? Why do you do it? We did it in our health class today. And I feel like for like any other holiday, you don't really do that and nobody really knows why. And yeah, that was just what I was gonna say before.
Well, I have a big pet peeve like we had off for Veterans Day. I don't think you guys sleeping till noon and getting up and doing some homework or watching Netflix is honoring a veteran in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Like it makes that day to me makes no sense. We could have an assembly at the school. We could have veterans come in and speak to you guys. I feel like there's other things that we could do that would make Veterans Day more meaningful.
Yeah.
Than give you a day off. We in College Peak got a test that day, but in AP Stat and my advanced master's applications, I did a Veterans Day project, a Veterans Day themed lesson in both those classes. That I didn't do with you guys just because we happened to have a test. But there's got to be a better way to recognize these days than what we do.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
All right.
So I want to just piggyback off of we were talking about before about being like kids of whatever, immigrants or whatever. But what was I gonna ask? Oh yeah, kids. You're a father. So what's that like?
Well, it's funny because you guys were talking about like testing and like getting good grades. My middle son is dyslexic, and so he has a hard time reading. So before we knew he was dyslexic, he's in 2nd grade, and my wife is sitting with him studying spelling words. He's going to have a spelling test, which you would think is antiquated. Why do you still need a spelling test? You can just do spell check or whatever. So he's studying vocab. He's got a vocab test, math test, spelling test. vocab test in the 90s, math test in the 90s, spelling test 30. And it happened again, like week after week after week. And so me and my wife, whose school's important to us, had to like take a step back. Like, he's working hard. He's doing what we asked him to do. We can't really get upset with him about his grade. And so as a father, I realize, and that's kind of what I tell you guys, if you're putting the work in and doing what you're supposed to be doing and going extra help, and your grade is what your grade is, you can't get too upset with that as long as you're putting the effort in. So I've learned a lot through him in terms of being a teacher and what I think is important and not important. When I have parent-teacher conferences, I always tell the parents, I'm much more concerned with your experience in the class than what your grade is. That's why on tests, I'll try to give you questions that you've never seen before, because I want you to learn how to think and struggle and try to come up with an answer. If it takes your grade from an A+ to an A, in the long run, is that big a deal? I don't think it's as big a deal as learning how to think and work through questions and struggle and all those kinds of things. So as I've learned a lot being a father, especially with my middle son, because he struggles with reading, I've learned a lot about being a teacher from him.
Yeah, and I think like you had like a point there, and I think it leads to like possibly like one of the biggest flaws of our school system. It's like our schools, the entire school year goes into preparing for like those final exams, where we're not really like learning anything anymore. We're just preparing for the final test that we have to take, and then once we take that test, everything we learned is just forgotten. And like if teachers had like more of a free reign, I feel like first off we'd learn a lot more, and then it would be like a lot better for us students, just because we're actually like learning, and not just to prepare for a test, just so like we're learning stuff that we can actually use and like ways that we can apply it. Because otherwise we just have to like, we're forced to go at like such a quick pace that we can't really like slow down and actually like, we can't slow down and like learn stuff, but like I don't know. Yeah,
I think the pace bothers me. When we went to Common Core, they promised that we were going to take material out so that we could spend more time on certain things and dive deeper, and they didn't. It's a crazy amount of material. One of the things I like about college pre-calc is we basically teach what we want. LIU does not come in and say, well, this is what you have to teach. They trust us to do it. We send them a curriculum. They're fine with it. And so, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, we'll do this after midterms, we did something called polar coordinates. And me and Miss Isaac were just picking the hardest questions we could possibly find. And we would spend like 2 days on one question, because we would look at it from like 4 different ways of answering the question. And to me, that was one of my favorite topics to do, because we don't have to get done by any period of time. It's just explore as much as you want to explore. And then when you're done, go to the next topic, you know? I like college pre-calc or pre-calc in general because of that. It's not a Regents class. We just give you a final on whatever we got up to. Yeah. Your midterm is going to be on whatever we got up to before the midterm. It doesn't matter what we get up to.
I think something that I like about your style of teaching too is that we're talking about just like learning in general, and like you kind of like throw us a question. It's like, okay, figure it out, and like also like ask other people too, like if you need help, but just get a question, figure it out. So that kind of promotes more literal learning instead of just like memorized tests, which I feel like is kind of like the school system that's like going around right now. So I think that's a good thing that you definitely do.
I'm trying and I'm struggling, but I would like to stand up in front of the room as little as possible and like give you guys a question and then have you guys go up and try to figure out how to do it. And then I can formalize the math for you guys, you know, along the way. But I would rather you guys lead class than me do it, because I think you learn better.
I can see that when you're doing it, because like sometimes you just make us go on the board and then you tell us to write our answer. And most math teachers in the past, you just write your answer, like don't show any work, you just write your answer, then go back and sit. Then you're like, okay, no, explain how you got there. And then if anybody else if they got it right, then they know how the work is, and they know it better because they're able to explain it. But if they got it wrong, then they could see like exactly where they got wrong, and other students can see where they also got wrong and how they could go wrong. So I think it's a cool way.
And you shouldn't be scared of being wrong. There's no chance you're going to get every math question right the first time you see it. That would be, first of all, it would be boring and it would be crazy. How would you know how to do every question the first time you saw it?
Yeah, I can see that with like, even like in the past math class or like any class really. Whenever a teacher asks for like, can you hear my brother?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, every time like any teacher asks for an answer, every kid's like just afraid of being like embarrassed in front of class, even though you're in school to learn about it. You're probably gonna make a mistake because you don't know it already. So, but even though I'm saying that, I still will be like, oh, I don't want to get it wrong. I'm not gonna answer. Even if I have an answer on the sheet circled, I won't raise my hand because I'm scared that somebody else will be like, oh, dude, he's stupid. How did he get that wrong?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that's a good point. You're there to learn about things, and you're afraid to admit you don't know about the things you're there to learn about.
Yeah.
Like if you think about that logically, it makes no sense. Like you're not supposed to know it beforehand. That's why you're there.
Yeah. There. Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, Mr. Depalo, just one other quick question. So we're talking about just trying your best, and if as long as you're doing your best, and whatever you get, it doesn't really matter. Do you think success through failure is more important than, or not more important, but is more meaningful than success on your first try?
That's a good question. I think failure is important. You need to see the success at some point, but failure is important. I actually get nervous. Like I was talking about my kids. My older son and my daughter do very well in school, and it's very natural for them. I get nervous because at some point things are going to get hard, and how are they going to deal with it when it does get hard? My middle son has always struggled, so he understands what that feels like, and he's already kind of overcome that to a degree. Like he understands he's not going to do good on every test. He's going to have to work really hard sometimes, and sometimes he'll see success and sometimes he won't. I get nervous for the other two who has not experienced that failure. I think, I guess success through failure is better because you need to learn how to overcome failure. There's zero chance you're going to go through your life without any failure. So you need to learn how to overcome that.
So if you had the opportunity to like go back to talk to your like old high school self, what's like one piece of advice you'd like to give them?
I guess what I tell you guys, just to relax just a little bit, like work hard and study and do the work, but don't put so much pressure on how you actually perform. If you put in the work, that's all you can do and that's all you can control. And everything else is what it is, Yeah. You can control everything.
Okay.
And as you get older, things happen in your life that you realize, wow, I have zero control. Just zero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I just want to say something about what you said before with like just your kids being like, oh, two of your kids being really good in school and them not knowing what it's like. I used to be like that in middle school. Like I didn't get anything below an A in middle school. Everything was like 88 or like that B plus or above on each test, and each quarter it was like not above an A. And then I got to 9th grade, freshman year, geometry honors. Every teacher warned me about a class being hard, but I heard that from every previous teacher that the next year was going to be even harder, and that was never true. And then I wasn't used to that, and I got into geometry honors. And then the first test was a review of the last year, and I did fine on that. But the second test, I got like a grade I had never seen before, like in the 60s. And then I just like freaked out for like a week over that because I just never experienced it before. But now after going through that a couple of times, maybe more than I wanted, I'm like, I'm a little more not accustomed, but like I'm able to handle it better. I'm not gonna freak out for like weeks on end over it. I'll be like, okay, next time I have to try a little harder. It won't be as easy.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah.
All right. So
I think we have a few rapid fire questions, just like quick answers. Just don't think too hard, because all right. Anyway, I'm just gonna go to them. So, first question: who is your favorite of us?
Oh my God, I can't answer that question.
it's out of school, so you can on it. It's like
Whoever I'm talking to at that moment in time.
Great.
Okay.
Perfect answer. Yep. Okay. Would you rather have infinite money and infinite friends, or no money and no friends? Think about it carefully. This is a deep question.
Oh my! I'd say infinite money and infinite friends.
All right.
Good choice. Good choice.
Infinite friends would be burdensome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very burdensome.
And last thing is just we're gonna open the floor to you. Is there any question, maybe about high school experiences, being minorities, whatever it may be, running the greatest YouTube channel on the internet? Is there a question that you would like to ask us?
I actually do have a question for you, because I've been teaching kids for 20 years, and what do you think either the biggest misconception is about your generation, or the knock your generation gets that you think is not deserved?
I think this is definitely like varies for each person, but like I think people, we've talked about this, and I think people do think that we're too soft and like, oh, we can't take anything. And it's kind of based on like the society that we've been raised up in. Like, oh, we've raised up in Syosset our whole life, so we're like, we've never had to face like struggles that our parents did. But like we can also like, we've gone through stuff that like our parents never had to in high school. Like our life was pretty tough. Like especially like in high school right now, we've had to deal with like 11th grade APs, SATs, all of that. I feel like sometimes adults, they kind of, I don't know, they underestimate like what we're capable of, I guess. If anyone else
I
has
feel like
anything.
another misconception. COVID didn't help that either. I feel like another misconception is that like none of us care about school. Like in this conception, like it literally depends on the class. Like also, like I feel like teachers are like the biggest influence in terms of liking a class and appreciating school, because the class can be I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade, but college pre-cal, that's not like the most riveting, exciting class in history. But you make it. I mean, you make it fun. You make it like enjoyable. And I literally, I don't. It's not like I dread going to your class. I like going to your class, and you make it fun. But like, say, I'm not trying to throw shade. My 8th period class, where there's not that much like enthusiasm and just like joking around, like that's just like, wow, I'm dreading going to this class. So it's like we don't hate school, just that like we hate only classes. And if teachers make an effort to make it better, then we definitely appreciate it a lot more. It's not like everything is dreadful.
Okay, so I guess then we'll wrap it up. So we've done this with our last guest, Mr. Depalo. We would like to give you the opportunity to wrap up the podcast. So
Sign it off.
yeah, say the last message. So I guess just go ahead.
Floor is
I can
yours.
say anything I want here.
Yeah, anything you want. Anything
Yeah,
you want.
anything.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you guys having me on as a guest. It was a pleasure. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving tomorrow, although I don't know when you're going to actually drop this episode.
Yeah.
But have a great
It's gonna be in
Thanksgiving.
like December.
All right, and enjoy the holidays.
Happy Christmas. Merry
Have a great
Christmas.
holiday season. We'll go with that.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys so
See
much for
everybody
watching.
next week.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Yep, thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Yeah.